Well, my name's Kevin Daniels, and I'm running a write-in campaign for the school board. I chose to run because I believe that the trust in the school board has diminished, and I believe that I can help restore some of that trust. I'm going to do that by being honest, having integrity, and being transparent. I think those are three keys of a good quality school board member, and I have a demonstrated track record in all three areas. I am the pastor at Hayes Christian Church here in town. My wife is a paraeducator, substitute paraeducator for the school district. My daughter is in 4th grade at Roosevelt, and my son is a 6th grader at Hayes Middle School. I've done a number of volunteer activities in my time in Hayes. I've been here since 2009. Currently, I'm serving as the secretary of the Ellis County Ministerial Alliance. I was a past president of that organization as well. I just finished a 6-year term, 4.5 of which were as president of Lakeview Christian Camp, which is a regional camp that's located up in Stockton, but has churches that are in Nebraska and all over Kansas as well. I think the biggest thing is going to be the honesty, transparency, integrity, and then the communication. I'm able to communicate well, particularly in written form, through various aspects of my jobs, especially as secretary of the Ellis County Ministerial Alliance. I'm constantly sending emails, constantly writing things for different things, and I think that that's something that's really lacking right now is the communication, because communication has to be a two-way street. You can't just be always putting out information, you also have to be listening to people. And that's where I have a demonstrated track record of being able to listen to people and collaborate with people. And I think that we can do that better as a school board. It's been said that you can either make it easy for you or easy for them when it comes to getting information and communication. And I think right now we need to make it as easy as possible for people to communicate with the school board. Not everyone's going to feel comfortable coming up to a school board meeting, standing in front of the microphone, in front of all the school board members, being televised and all that. So we need to make it easier for people to communicate. I'm going to be in the schools, talking to people, being with the teachers, talking to them, finding out what's going on from their perspective, and just being able to answer questions. I have a flexible schedule, so I'm able to do that. The school board obviously hires one employee, and that is the superintendent. So the superintendent is who's supposed to handle the day-to-day operations. The school board handles more big picture items. But we also have to serve as a way for people to communicate with the superintendent, and that's where that communication comes in, and that's where the coming in and being in the classroom, talking to teachers, talking to parents, talking to community members. They have to be able to feel that they have a voice, and that's very important, and they deserve a voice. They're paying for the schools, and so we need to make sure that we are in constant communication with people and making sure that they have their voices heard. The increase of funding needs to go to the classroom. I think the Supreme Court's been very clear that that funding is for classroom instruction. So that means that we need to provide more professional days and opportunities for our teachers. It needs to mean that we need to make sure that our teachers are compensated fairly compared to other districts. We need to make sure that curriculum is up to par and that students have the tools they need to be successful in the classroom. And so all of those things together are things that we need to look at as far as where that future funding is going to come to. The school bond is a tricky animal. And what I think that it does do is it addresses the things that are most important to me, and that's the safety and security of the students. We don't have storm shelters at all the schools. We don't have safe and secure entrances. And I know some people have said, well, that's not that big a deal. But to me it is. My kids go to those schools. And I want to know that in case of inclement weather or in case of something terrible happening, that there are steps taken to make them safe. I don't think that it's okay for us to not have safe and secure entrances or those tornado shelters. The other thing is that it addresses the equal access for all students, making it ADA compliant. There are schools that, I mean, if you have certain disabilities, you just can't go to Lincoln because it's not ADA compliant at all. At Roosevelt, it's not so bad, but the storm shelter, you have to take stairs to get to the storm shelter. And the other schools, the same thing. They're not ADA compliant, and we need to make sure that we're providing an opportunity for all students to get an equal access to education. If the school bond fails again, we need to take a minute and regroup by getting in the room with people who voted no. The current vision team, from what I know, had 2 people on it that had voted no. That's not a real representative sample of people who did not support the bond. So we need to get in a room with them and find out, what is it about the bond that caused you to vote no? Because if we just keep doing this over and over again, we're going to get the same result unless we really have a dialogue with people. What is it that is causing you to vote no? What is it about the bond? What is it about the process? What is it about the money? Is it about what? Until we sit down and talk with these people, we're not going to be able to move forward with any bond, let alone the one that we have set before us. You know, I think with any curriculum, we need to make sure that the teachers are deeply involved from the very beginning, putting that curriculum into place. I have a perspective as a parent, and obviously I went through school in public school, but the teachers are the ones that have to implement this. And every time we ask them to implement something new, something else has to come out of it because they just don't have all the extra time. So we need to really be evaluating each new requirement that comes from the state or federal level with the teachers and say, okay, how is this going to work? Because obviously if it's mandated, we have to do it. But how we implement that in our specific district, we need to be talking to the teachers and the paras and the administrators who are in the classroom every day. Well, I saw this question ahead of time and I went and asked a kindergarten teacher. I said, what do you see coming in with the preschoolers that are coming in and starting kindergarten? And she said that the most important things were the fine motor skills, such as being able to write their name, button their buttons, things like that, as well as some alphabet recognition and knowing some of the basic sounds of the letters. She said there's a kindergarten readiness committee that meets about twice a year so that they can talk about this with the Early Childhood Connections group, and hopefully they can work together to make our kids as ready as possible. Well, besides the money, which everyone always is keen on the money, it really has to do with that dialogue that needs to be created between the board and the teachers, the board and the staff, the board and the administration, the board and the community at large. If people don't trust the board, or if the people don't understand why the board is making certain decisions, then that's going to be a big problem. And that problem is not on the people, it's on the board. We as a board have a responsibility to make sure that people know what we're doing and that we're being transparent with our decision-making process and making it so that people know what's going on and are able to provide input all along the way. I think I've touched on that. Basically, it's to increase the communication, increase the transparency by making sure that people know that we care about them and that we want to hear their voice in the decision-making process, and then being open and honest with people. These are the decisions that we're going to make. We're not going to make everyone happy. That's just impossible. But we at least need to listen to all stakeholders and make a decision that's in the best interest of our students and our community. Well, I am a write-in candidate, and so in order to vote for me, people will have to click the write-in button and type in my name, or if they have the paper ballot, they can circle that in and then write my name in. And so that's obviously a challenge to overcome to becoming a school board member, but I feel that I have the support of the community, and I think it'll be all right.